Hey, welcome back to True-Moto-Resto, and on this video we're going to continue the restoration process on the 86 GSXR 750, the junkyard slabbie. Stay tuned. So after doing a little bit of research, it appears to me that this rear frame section, signal support and whatnot, along with the battery box, are actually supposed to be black. They were painted silver on my bike, so it must have been done after the fact. So the only thing I really need to paint, repaint, or paint, I guess, not repaint, is the swing arm. So that'll be silver. And then the rest of this stuff I can just paint it black. So when it comes to painting the black frame components, this is the stuff I use. Imron 3.5, and this stuff is kind of an industrial single stage heavy duty color. You can mix this stuff, I think, only in solid colors. You cannot get it in metallics. So basically it's the product in the can plus a hardener, and it's very, very durable. They paint railings and food vessels and all that kind of stuff with this stuff. It's pretty hard wearing stuff, so it's perfect for doing motorcycle frames and components if you're not wanting to do a powder coat. So this is the original Canadian sales brochure for the 86 GSXR. It's actually the entire Suzuki motorcycles lineup for 1986. But yeah, this is the GSXR 750 section. Kind of cool to look back on the original brochures and read up on what they were selling and how they were selling them at the time. And then there's also, of course, 1986 was the first year for us for the GSXR 1100. This is my favorite color scheme for the 1100. And then I think there's the GSXR 750R in here as well, which is very cool. Not too many of these around. Also in here is the RG500 Gamma, which is super cool to have. Always wanted one of these. I had an RZ500 and RZ500, but I've never had a 500 Gamma. I had a RG 250 Gamma, and I've had an RG VJ21 Gamma, but I've never had a 500. And also very cool, the 86 Katana 750 with the pop-up headlight is in here as well. Super cool. So this is interesting. There's actually got a price list in this brochure. And the GSXR 750G in red and black, or white and blue, retailed for $6,099 back in 1986 in Canada. Pretty cool. And the 1100 was just over $7,000. Limited edition was $7,700, almost $7,800. Boy, I bet you wish you could buy one for that price now. So there's the first process, which is basically just trying to strip the anodizing off that rear section of the frame. So now I'm gonna go to it with 400 emery paper and WD-40, and then I'll go to 600, then 800, and 1,000, and I want to get more or less to the point where it's like a polished frame, the look that I typically hate. And then once I get to that more polished look with metal polish and whatnot, then I'm going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and I'm going to scuff it to give it a bit more of a factory look before I put clear coat on it. I don't want this to be permanently super shiny. So you kind of know that you've gotten down to the aluminum and got rid of the anodizing when you're getting all the black residue. So this is just autosol. And again, if you're polishing aluminum, it's not going to turn black unless there's no coating on it. If it's uncoated, you got all the anodizing off, then it starts to turn black. All that, I don't know if it's oxidization or what it is, but one of the tips that I learned years ago, if you've got a very large area of aluminum that you're polishing, it can be a bit of a pain to get this black residue off. So I used to restore snowmobiles years ago, and when you've got an area like a snowmobile chassis and tunnel, it's very, very large, and you get it to shine like a mirror. It looks beautiful. Don't like it on motorcycle frames, but on a snowmobile chassis, it looks really good. And to get the black off, I mean, you can scrub for a long, long time, and it's very, very difficult to do. Or you can grab yourself a bowl of household flour, like baking flour or cooking flour, whatever you want to call it, and you dip your rag, your buffing rag, in the flour, and it takes the black off really, really quickly. It makes the whole polishing process really, really fast. In this particular case, I don't need it because well, it's not that big of an area, so. There you go. That's what it's going to look like before I get any sort of brushed finish on it. So obviously that doesn't look factory stock at the moment because it's just way too shiny, but that's all right. It's all part of the process. I mean, at this point, at least that's what I want. I know that I've got the anodizing off. I've got a good portion of the corrosion off there, and yeah, we'll see what it looks like once I brush finish it. So I'm going to start out with this kind of burgundy colored Scotch-Brite. It's kind of the, I don't know, I've got the brown, the gray, and the burgundy. This is kind of in the middle. I think the gray is not going to be coarse enough to get the effect that I want, so I'm going to try this first, and then I'll try the other brown stuff if I don't get what I want. So I'm just kind of going, I mean, some people just like to pull it in one direction, but in a small area like this, you can kind of go back and forth, and it just kind of takes the shine off and gives it a bit of a brushed look to it, more of a satin finish. So that will, that's getting me closer. It's getting me closer. The parts I'm not yet satisfied with are the kind of the cross supports at the back. They're seem to be quite heavily anodized, and there's still some of the anodizing left on there. But at least all of the major dark areas of corrosion are gone. It isn't perfect. It's never going to look like it's been anodized, but by the time I get some clear coat on there, it should be 100 times better than it was before. But yeah, it's going to work out okay. And there's still more cleaning to do on this other part of the frame. You can see there's still so much of the pink residue of the orange paint that was left there. There's still bits of it here and there that I've got to get off. I've just got to take it easy on that part because I don't want to go through the anodizing. And even though there is some pitting and corrosion here, I don't want to touch the main part of the frame. I'm just going to have to live with that. It's not too bad. Yeah, this is the other spot that I'm not 100% happy with is there's kind of like a white mottling to the finish here on these main beams here coming on the back side of the frame. It's on both sides. An unevenness, maybe a result of whoever stripped the orange paint off here originally. So I'd like to find a way to even that finish out. So I might try kind of cleaning this one more time, and then maybe in a more inconspicuous spot, just try a wipe on a rag of some clear coat and see if that evens the finish out a little bit and kind of takes away that mottling effect. So I'm going to experiment with that a little bit and see. So this upper fairing stay, this is the part, this attaches to the top of the frame right here, like that. And then this, each end of this attaches to kind of inside the windshield. Now it's supposed to attach, if I look in here, it actually is supposed to attach to these two rearmost holes, like that. Something along those lines, which it now does. Before, it was attached down here to the third set of holes. And the reason that it did that was because this right side arm was so badly bent that right now it's fairly straight. So this upright piece right here is pretty much parallel to that other one. It might need a little bit more of a tweak, but it's getting pretty good. But it was bent pretty badly. Like it was bent this way. So it was kind of up to here and then across. It was really, and basically all the paint had kind of shattered off here. So it had obviously, when the bike had been dropped, this had bent and all the paint had cracked. So put it in the vise, bent it back, and it's right now it's pretty darn close. It's not perfect, but it's very close. So I figure I better get some of these other pieces cleaned up and ready to go to paint tomorrow with some of the other frame and subframe components, because I don't want to be making multiple trips if I don't have to. The next piece that I have to deal with is the this headlight frame and the mount for the clocks that goes on the front of the frame. Problem with this is, I think as I mentioned in one of the earlier videos, this screw is not coming out. And so the way these are put together, I believe, is, well, I know because I got the other one out okay, but this one, there's basically like a, I'll call it a well nut inside the plastic there. So I guess there's like a brass fitting that's cast into the plastic when it's manufactured, and it allows you to screw in or bolt in different things, in this case a bracket, to the plastic. Problem with them is, over time, especially bikes, old bikes that have been left outside for a while, the water gets in and you get corrosion between you know, the steel from the screw or the nut and the brass. And then when you go to turn this, instead of the screw turning, the entire brass fitting tears away from the plastic and it just spins, and that's what's happened here. So as far as I can tell, the only way that I can think of getting this out is to heat up this screw, this bolt here, transfer the heat, melt the plastic, and then just basically pull this off, hopefully without melting it, and then leave the well nut attached to the screw, and then I can get the well nut off and then reattach or re-glue the well nut into the plastic after the fact. So that's the plan. So that worked like a charm. So I just used a little extra piece of metal there as a heat shield, so I didn't damage the plastic on the headlight surround. And then you can see right there, that's the brass well nut, it just pulled straight out of that as soon as I heated up the bolt in there. So now that should be much more straightforward to remove that and then get it stuck back inside that headlight bracket. But yeah, that worked like a charm. So there's the brass well nut, I'll call it, that I got off the screw, the bolt. It wasn't too bad. I just put this part in the vise, and then I just whacked this a couple of times with the handheld impact driver, and came loose. Now, unfortunately, these things are fairly brittle, and this is not going to be reusable. And for what I want to use it for, the other part of the problem would be if I start to glue this back in some way, shape, or form, the adhesive or whatever product I use is would have seeped in through between these slots, and it probably would have galled up the inside of the thread, and I wouldn't have been able to get the bolt back in. So what I'm elected to do instead is I'm going to use this riv nut. This is a galvanized, or zinc plated, I should say, riv nut. And instead of using the riv nut gun, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to score up the outside of this a little bit with the file. So put some kind of coarse texture on it so it grips a little bit better. I'm going to remount the inside of here a little bit so it fits in. And then I'm going to use I don't know what I'm going to use yet. Probably an epoxy of some sort. I've got a bunch of different, I got some plastic epoxy I think I'm going to use in that to just to secure that in place. It'll basically just go right in there. Drill that out, score that up, throw some epoxy on it, and that should do the trick. I've done a test fit. I don't have as much thread on this one, so this one is kind of threaded all the way through, right from the top to the bottom. This has kind of got a deeper well in it, but I do have enough thread in there for this to work, so that will be my fix. So alright, so I'm just going to mix up some 2-part epoxy. This is just Permatex general purpose epoxy I'm going to use. Should do the trick. Rather than stuffing this stuff in the hole and completely filling it, like I don't. So basically what I've done here is I've drilled out this mounting hole. I've scored up this a little bit, and that now kind of slides right in there. And then I'm gonna basically, I think what I'll do is I'll coat this, and that way I can guard a little bit against getting too much of the epoxy in the threads of the riv nut. So epoxy on there and enough bite that should stay right where I need it once it's in there. There we go. So we'll let that sit, let that dry, and then hopefully that's all I need. So I think the next thing is going to be I'm going to unbolt this horn from the stay, and then we'll get this thing cleaned and primed, and that can get painted at the same time as the other stuff tomorrow as well. So basically I've just given these a sanding and knocked off any of the rust spots, and then I've hit it with some rust converter, and then once that's all dried I'll give it another light sanding, and then I'll do some etch primer on it, and then it'll be good to go to the paint shop. So just starting to gather up my supplies and my stuff for going to paint tomorrow. So I head to the paint booth, and what I've decided to do is as I said, because I've stripped the whole back of this down, I'm going to clear coat it. And it appears that all of the cast stuff, either because I had to clean it up and it's all been stripped and sandblasted, like the stuff that was all back in here and on the inside, or what somebody else has done, like on the outside, it's basically void of all anodizing. And so I think my approach here is I'm just going to give it one coat of clear, just to make sure that I don't get any more kind of oxidization on that aluminum, and then hopefully that'll do the trick. And obviously I've taped up there anything that I don't want the clear coat to be on, because all of those frame pieces that I've taped up are in pretty good shape. The stuff that's starting to oxidize and doesn't look as good is the rough cast sections. So everything else that's going to paint, sitting over here. That fender, another project, another video, that's going to paint as well at the same time. So stay tuned for that video. And yeah, all this stuff here is going to be black. That's going to be silver. That's going to be silver. That's just going to get clear coated. All right, so we've got the frame ready to be cleared. These have been painted silver, so the base silver is on. And basically 2 coats of silver and then 1 mist coat. And now we're going to hit that with clear. All right, so if I'm not perfectly honest, I'm not 100% pleased with how the rear section of this frame looks with the clear on it, but it is what it is. You're not going to really see that anyhow. But so these are the tubular sections that I painted with the Imron Industrial Black. And then the swing arms all painted up, so that looks good. All right, frame, swing arm, all back, and it's not installed, it's just kind of sitting in there for the moment. All the other parts are all painted. And so that's going to conclude this video. Stay tuned for the next one. I'm going to get into more of the prep, and the body work's going to be coming up, and all kinds of interesting stuff to get this thing back on its wheels. And I do have a lead on a bike to get an engine, so stay tuned for that. I'm hoping it pans out. I'll let you know, and if it does pan out, there'll be a video on that as well. So until next time, thanks very much. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.